The village in it with a map and a plan. No place too tiny for this determined man. Crossing the counties one by one, you'll see in every English corner a bit of history.
The South Kesteven series is sponsored by Gainsborough Cycles 01427 617 752. For all your cycling needs, this is your one-stop shop located at 20 Ropery Road, Gainsborough, or online at gainsboroughcycles.com. There's a link in the description. Gainsborough Cycles, ask for Trevor Halstead. Hello folks, welcome back to South Kesteven again. I've got two beautiful little parishes for you to finish this week off. Would you check this out? Gorgeous golden field. You find this at this time of year in Lincolnshire. I'm going to be seeing quite a few of these fields as we continue on through the rest of the county. This one you'll find on the edge of a lovely little village called Ropsley, which is part of the parish of Ropsley and Humby. Ropsley and Humby, crops clearing and Hundy's farm. This weekend we have two more parishes in South Kesteven to see, both of which contain more than one settlement. This is Ropsley and Humby, located about 5 miles east of Grantham, close to the North Kesteven border. The main village here is Ropsley. It's the location of the source of the River East Glen, or River Eden if you will, and also the birthplace of Richard Fox, the Tudor bishop who funded a grammar school in Grantham and Corpus Christi College at Oxford University. Southeast of the village is the site of a 300-year-old ring dam, today identified by a group of trees. It was once used as a sheep wash and its blue brickwork can still be seen. There are several disused quarries nearby, two of which are situated within the village itself. Now those are Ropsley's main talking points, but the place has a lot more than that. This walk around the village will take in the Church of St Peter, the one and only pub called the Green Man, a golf course sited to the southwest of the village cluster, and a former bakery, considered by many to be one of the oldest in the country until it closed in 1979. It's not all about Ropsley here though. The parish is, after all, called Ropsley and Humby for a reason. Humby can be split into two parts, namely Little Humby and Great Humby. There, we'll learn about another tiny church, a ford that's often prone to flooding, and the life and work of one Richard Todd. He was an actor whose starring roles included playing Wing Commander Guy Gibson in the 1955 film The Dambusters. There's far more here than you might think. Let's get going. We start with a walk from the northwestern corner of the village to the southwestern corner by using a footpath flanking some local fields. This will take us to Ropsley Golf Course. Ropsley is surrounded by the beautiful Lincolnshire countryside, a vast chunk of it being arable farmland. Crops here include barley and oilseed rape, which are often grown all around the village. There were at one time several small farms in the Ropsley area that held livestock. Today, very little of the land is used by live animals. The parish extends to approximately 6,939 acres and includes some attractive rolling countryside. The fields are typically large and hedged with mixed hawthorn, elder and ash. There are 5 deciduous woodlands around Ropsley, but they account for less than 10% of the land area. Woodlands were historically very important around here, as we'll learn. Although agriculture is still the major industry, relatively few people work in the sector and most residents earn a living in Grantham. Farming, though, remains important to the local economy. Sport is a key part of life in Ropsley. As well as this golf course, the village has a main sports field, which we'll catch later around this route. This isn't a full-size course. It only has 9 holes, although some sources say 12, so I'm not totally sure. Whatever the case, it was built in 1992, and the length of the course is 2,015 yards. The path, which we're still on, passes right through the course and will take us onto the paddocks. That's a street that forms the southern boundary of the village, acting as our way into civilization. Well, golf course successfully navigated. No errant golf balls flying over my head. We have had that in previous places, haven't we, where we've had to cross a golf course. Not the case here. It's a little bit too early in the morning for that to be happening. There's just a couple of people in the car park. They're probably going to be the first people to tee off today, so we'll leave them to it. We're now going to head to the east along this road, which looks a bit barren, to be honest with you, but it soon starts to become a lot more civilized. There's lots of things to talk about here in Ropsley, so we better get on with it. There's not much to see for a short way, so let's fill in a bit more about the place we're in. Evidence suggests that Ropsley has been occupied since about 8000 BC. Indeed, there have been several finds in the local fields from the Stone Ages and the Bronze Age through to the times of the Romans, Anglo-Saxons and the Danish conquests. The population reached its zenith in the 17th century around the wool trade, which then collapsed to today's levels. In 2011, the census recorded 816 residents living in a total of 367 houses. Not much has changed in the 14 years since then. Ropsley and Humby are today considered sparsely populated and quiet rural backwaters, especially in comparison to some of the other villages around Grantham. Ropsley is roughly between 81 metres and 93 metres above sea level. The land undulates, with the middle of the village sitting in a hollow. It's all centred around a large church and a collection of other historic buildings. The oldest ones are scattered throughout the village and are set in a fairly random way, with some lining the roads and others set back and at irregular angles. There are many different building styles here. Later ones are interspersed amongst the oldest, and there are some newer areas of development too on the fringes. The village has a traditional vernacular of limestone under pan tile. Most of the oldest properties here fit that description. Let's see what else it has, other than houses. This is the High Street. It was the location of one of the oldest bakeries in the country at one time. Standing in the street for more than 300 years, Ropsley's bakery was the stuff of legend by all accounts. There was no need to travel to Grantham or Sleaford for bread and cakes. It was all available here until it closed its doors for the last time in 1979. Now, I'm not 100% sure of where it was, but I suspect it was this building. Wherever it was, it's now been converted into a house. Well, if this wasn't the bakery, I imagine it was the post office. Big clue, postbox in the wall, which is still in use today. Ropsley has just the one pub, and it's called the Green Man. Previous pubs included the Peacock and the Ropsley Fox, the latter of which closed down in 2012. The Green Man is linked to the name of the village. It's a suggestive link to the historical role of the Green Man as a protective spirit of the woods. Ropsley literally means the clearing in the woods. The pub dates back to 1684. It was once a run-down establishment, but it's now a bustling village hub and a local favourite. Since being refurbished in 2015, this has become a central meeting place for the village and offers a range of food options. It has a strong focus on local produce and seasonal dishes. The Green Man is also known for its welcoming atmosphere and professional service. As such, it has in the past been recognised as a local CAMRA Pub of the Year. It was also a former winner in the Countryside Alliance Awards East of England category. As well as the pub, Ropsley has another well-used communal venue. That would be the village hall, which we're heading for next. Well, I guess you'd term this little area a village green, although Ropsley's got a couple of those, to be honest with you. So whether this is the official village green or not, I don't really know. I'll tell you what it does have though, this green, and that would be a parish notice board. You know what that means by now. If I don't break the damn thing. It's very old, this board. That's just come off of my hand, that. It will go back on. So let's put a card on here. And there we go, Ropsley and Humby in the books. This is sometimes referred to as the new Ropsley Hall because it was built adjacent to the site of the older Ropsley Memorial Hall. It was completed in November 2020 at a cost of £880,000. The funds were a combination of major grants from the Big Lottery Fund, the Football Foundation and Sport England. The remaining monies came from hall funds, other charitable sources and the generosity of the people and businesses of the Ropsley area. The new hall consists of a main room, a community room and a kitchen. At the eastern end of the building there are 4 changing rooms built to full FA specification. The entire building also has full underfloor heating. Now that's fancy. Capacity wise, it can cater for a maximum of 120 people. The building sits on the southern edge of a playing field complete with football pitches and a cricket square. There's also a play area on the opposite side of the main car park. Football-wise, the village has a team called Ropsley FC. They compete in the Grantham and District Sunday League. Their crowning moment came in 1959 when they won the Grantham League Knockout Cup, beating Ancaster 3-1 in the final. There were over 1,000 spectators there, a crazy number for this level of football. The game was played in Grantham on a pitch that was formerly used by Grantham Town and Grantham Cricket Club. It's now occupied by the town's Sainsbury's supermarket. There must be something going on at Ropsley Hall this morning because a lot of cars were pulling in there while I was filming the sports ground. So I wonder what that's all about. It's good to see a good thriving community. Now, we're going to head down Peck Hill now, and this will take us towards what I think is the central village green. I know we saw one earlier which was quite large, but I think there's another green which should be defined as the absolute dead centre of Ropsley. You can kind of just see it there behind the lorry. It's only a small thing, but it's got a village sign on it. From one open space to another, next we have the central green, upon which is the war memorial. This is known as the Ropsley and Humby Obelisk. Unveiled on the 20th of March 1922, this originally commemorated the 25 men who died in World War I. The names of the 6 men who perished in World War II were added at a later date. Its unveiling ceremony was attended by parishioners and local dignitaries, most notably the Earl of Ancaster, the Honourable Claude H.D. Willoughby, MP. On Chapel Hill we find ourselves next, and the name of this street should give away our next port of call. Yep, it's an old chapel. Now a house, this was the Ropsley Wesleyan Methodist Chapel. It was built in 1837 to seat 90 people. It closed in 1989 and was used as an office before being converted into a house in 2013. Made of stone, like most of the village, it has a half-hipped roof, dressed stone coins and segmental-headed window arches. It is, in all senses, a classic Lincolnshire Methodist building. By no means is this the only religious building in the village. Next, we're off to find the church, which sports a massive spire that can be seen for miles around. So we're just about to head for the church, which you saw there with its tall spire reaching up into the Lincolnshire sky. Just before we do though, on the corner of Hall Close is this. Now, there's a sign there that tells you that this is road grit. Now usually you find this in those sort of yellow buckets, don't you? But this looks extremely old, this little pit that it's in. I wonder how many sort of road grit, roadside things like this are left these days. Can't be many. Okay. To the church. Built of ashlar-dressed limestone rubble, Ropsley's church is dedicated to St Peter. It dates back to at least 1380, although some parts of it are Anglo-Saxon. This ties in with what's written in the Domesday Book. It mentions a church here which was originally Saxon. The chancel and the north aisle were added later by the Normans. The present chancel is a shortened affair, reduced in size during the 17th century. At the same time, part of the church was demolished and rebuilt by the Reverend Francis Furlong because dry rot was discovered in the walls. The 13th century tower is of 3 stages and it's surmounted by a 14th century brooch spire. It's considered to be one of the finest spires in Lincolnshire. There are 2 war memorials inside the church, one commemorating the war dead as usual, and the other a stained glass window for Sergeant Dales of Little Humby. He was a former pilot in the RAF. A further stained glass window dating from 1871 can be seen at the eastern end of the south aisle. That's in memory of Harriet Brooke, the widow of a late curate. The church has 2 bells, both dating from the 17th century. One of them is cracked, but the other one can still be rung. The larger of the 2 was cast at the Stamford Bell Foundry of Tobias Norris. The smaller has a legend that reads, "Sweetly tolling men do call to taste on meat that feeds the soul, 1620. So Ropsley has a split churchyard. On the right hand side as you walk up this road you've got the church and the oldest part of the churchyard you would have thought, and on the other side you've got what looks to be an extension, and this road runs right through the middle. And we are going to walk up this road now towards the school, and it's time to talk education. Let's talk schools now as we make our way up to the school. Ropsley was the birthplace of a man who was pretty influential in British education, the Bishop Richard Fox. Born in 1448, Fox was the Bishop of Exeter, Bath and Wells, Durham and Winchester. He was also Lord Privy Seal for a time too. He died in 1528 and now lies in a tomb inside Winchester Cathedral. Religiously, Fox also had a hand in the present St Peter's Church. It was he who provided for the building of the porch in 1483. It was later restored in 1903 and 1904. Fox is thought to have studied at Magdalen College, Oxford, from which he drew many members of his subsequent foundation, Corpus Christi College. He also appears to have studied at Cambridge, but nobody knows that for sure. Today, Corpus Christi College possesses several portraits and other relics of its founder. His educational prowess also extended to grammar schools. Fox built and endowed 2 of them, one in Taunton, Somerset, and another in Grantham. He was a benefactor to numerous other institutions and master of a school in Stratford-upon-Avon from 1477. There he was described as a man of wisdom, knowledge, learning and truth. Ropsley's first school was built in 1717 and it was endowed by James Thompson. It was rebuilt in about 1805 after a fire. In 1874, a public elementary school would replace the first school. It was enlarged 20 years later, increasing its capacity to 400. The building is still here, but there are nowhere near 400 children. Today, the school teaches around 100 pupils. It has its own wildlife area, a playground, a climbing frame, and a football pitch, as well as a bell tower and a hall. The school holds a summer fete and a Christmas fair biannually. Each year at harvest time, the school holds a harvest festival. This sees the local children walk from the school to the church with their offerings. The food collected is then raffled off. Well, we've been going for an hour and a quarter. It's a much bigger village than you think, Ropsley. If you look on the map, it doesn't look all that much, but trust me, if you wander around it, there's plenty to get your teeth into, as it were. Now, we're almost at the end. You can see here, we've got Grantham Road, and if you just follow this all the way back up to the top, basically where the civilization seems to end, that is the route around Ropsley. So enjoy this little montage to finish. Humby, although often referred to as one village, can be split into two distinct settlements. These are Great Humby and Little Humby. Despite those suggestive names, it's Little Humby that's larger. Little Humby's most notable resident was the actor Richard Todd. He lived here until his death in 2009. An Irish-British actor, Todd was previously a captain in the army during World War II and fought in the D-Day landings as a member of the 7th Light Infantry Parachute Battalion. His wartime experience probably aided his acting career. He was known for several leading film roles in the 1950s. His career saw him receive both Golden Globe and Academy Awards. He played Corporal Lachlan McLachlan in the 1949 film The Hasty Heart and Major John Howard in 1962's The Longest Day. Perhaps most famously, though, he assumed the role of Wing Commander Guy Gibson in the classic 1955 film The Dambusters. At the southern end of Little Humby, a stream crosses the road. This is a ford that's often dry in the summertime, but in the winter it's prone to flooding. The waters from this stream flow north into the East Glen River and eventually out into the North Sea via the Wash. The smaller of the two Humby settlements is just down the road. Great Humby is officially classified as a hamlet, despite the fact it has a small chapel. Distinction between the Humby settlements is a recent thing. In the Domesday Book, Humby was one entity. The likelihood is that the book was referring to what we know today as Great Humby. It was written as Humby, but it was spelt with an I as opposed to a Y. It had one villager, one smallholder, and 15 freemen. At the time, it was in the manor of Old Somerby, and the lord of the manor was Reynold. The tenant-in-chief was a man we know a bit about already, Walter Danecourt. In the 16th century, the lawyer Richard Brownlow purchased the manor of Belton, near Humby, along with some other estates. These included Humby, which later passed to his son, Sir William Brownlow. William was created the first Baronet of Humby in 1641. His grandson, Sir John Brownlow, the third Baronet, appears to have deserted it on inheriting Belton. Great Humby can therefore be considered a deserted village. Earthworks of the former Great Humby Hall, including moats and fish ponds, still remain evident today. Today, Great Humby has a population of about 15 people. It's surrounded by farmland, with most of the village itself being a farm. The only real landmark in Great Humby these days is the Chapel of St Anne. So of all the things we've seen so far in this episode, this is the one I've been looking forward to the most. This tiny little church here in Great Humby. You wouldn't even know it was there if you just looked on the map, because it looks so small, this place. But this is well worth checking out, and so too is the field next to it. St Anne's was a chapel of ease to Old Somerby and formerly the Brownlows' private religious building. It stands adjacent to the site of the now demolished Great Humby Hall. Merely those earthworks now, the hall was built in the 13th century and extended by the 17th before being pulled down with the rest of the village. The chapel is now the only remaining structure from those days. Grade 2 listed, the building you see today isn't the original. It was built in 1682 during the life of Sir William Brownlow. It was predated by an even earlier chapel which stood here in 1470. Some sources say it was rebuilt again in 1754, but that's not totally concrete fact. What is that it was restored at the expense of a J. Murgatroyd, once the chief landowner around here. English Heritage gives a date for that restoration as 1876. And that's Ropsley and Humby, everybody. They're lovely little places, aren't they? Generally speaking, people who live here refer to them as 3 villages within a collection of 5. The other 2 have their own parish, and we'll see them tomorrow. just before I go, remember, this video is part of a huge project to visit every civil parish in England. That's more than 10,000. These routes are pre-planned, and due to time constraints, I can't cover every detail or walk down every street. Please don't complain if this video missed something out. I pronounce names how I choose to. I am very aware that local dialect may vary, and I don't take kindly to criticism about this. You've been warned. It's impossible to know everything too. If this video was terrible, make your own. If you're a regular watcher of The Village Idiot, you're not the only one. If you've got a small business, why not use my videos to advertise it? Leave a comment below if you're interested. And finally, thanks for watching this episode, everybody. Give us a like and a subscribe if you've enjoyed this episode, and share it with your friends and relatives. It all helps to keep this mission going. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as The Village Idiot, and I'm out.